Today we're going to be looking at my recent squat PR and some things I could improve with it and some things to work on. We'll look at some weak points in my lift overall and just how to move forward. This will be helpful for the people out there that are trying to look at their own things, and try to find the weak points in their own lifts. So I'll throw the video up here. It's really low quality, so I don't want to show it the entire time. It was taken on like an iPad mini, so not that good of quality. But you'll get the idea. So I squatted 340 pounds for 6 reps, and my previous max was 355 for one. So clearly that's really pushing it, and that was a long time ago. I never maxed out in the squat for a long time just because of various circumstances. So as we kind of kick off this video, first thing I want to make a point is that I was worried about depth. Usually my training, my depth is okay, but sometimes when it gets to my PRs, it gets a little bit shady. Depth in there was great. That's the one point I'll give myself. I had good depth. The main thing I want to point out, the main error and mistake that I did in the movement was as you can see here, my knees. So my knees had a kind of wobble to them, and as I came back up, my knees went from kind of pointing out, slowly moving out, to then coming back in and then having a wobble. And you don't want to have that in your squat. You're losing power by having your knees not stable and glued in position. And you're also not giving yourself the best position. If you think about it, when you come up, when your knees come in, you lose leverage on the lift because your butt has to sink back, and what ends up happening is you're forcing all the pressure into your quads. None of it goes into your glutes and your hamstrings when you are unable to sink between your legs. So you want to be able to turn your knees out and sink between your legs to fully utilize all the muscle groups in your legs. And there unfortunately I was able to do that. So that's the main issue. So some things moving forward to fix that I would be able to put some bands around my knees, so that when I'm squat, I would have to force my knees out in order to fight against that band resistance on my knees. And it'd be a cue to myself. It wouldn't be a muscular thing, but it'd be a cue to focus on, hey, this is what I need to do. This is how I perform the squat properly. So that's one thing I could do. Another thing is I could work on glute activation. And this is also an issue, this ties into the next issue, is as you can see, I don't really push through with my glutes. The top of the set, I finish without fully almost going up. I don't push my glutes through and lock it out, with all the strength that I can. And through doing that, I think I lose a lot of potential for getting that power with my squat, being able to push through. So that glute activation can be really important, and it can also help turn those knees out. If I'm able to properly activate those glutes as I'm squatting. So that could be messing around with some small little exercises before I squat to get my glutes, kind of going, to get my mind linked to them, so then I'll use them more. It could also work well with strengthening them. So for some people, that's really helpful. My glutes are already fairly strong, and that's why my sumo deadlift is so good, because I have strong glutes. Something that's an issue, but some people I would recommend that. Mainly, it's pre-activation, and that also comes with pushing my knees out. The same muscle groups that you focus on pushing your knees out, you can use with your glutes to get more push through in your set. So those are the main things I'd say. I should probably do better to keep my upper back tight. Not a big deal. You can't really see it too well. I think that always helps. And making sure I'm breathing and bracing properly, that was actually a really good set. I felt extremely tight through the core. It was only my legs that I felt weak with. So I think I had a strong core in that one, and that held up well. So the only weakness I would say that I noticed muscularly, probably quads. I don't think I'm weak with my glutes. I think I just need to activate it more. So there's no weak point I really need to hit, at least in my opinion. No lower back weakness. It's just regular training, but doing some focus to keep pushing my knees out, doing that training to push my knees out and keep those locked in. Some extra cues for keeping your knees stable is thinking about pulling apart the earth with your feet. So this was something I didn't do that I should have done. That when you do that, it keeps your knees kind of locked in your mind because they're not wobbling as much as if you focus on bringing your legs apart. So those are some things to think about when you're looking at your own lifts. There's an example of the things I'm gonna probably go forward doing with my squat.